Welcome to the episode 5 of Belly Balanced. This is Shruti.
This is Vanshika.
Today, we are taking a topic which affects so many of us, that is mental health. And I'm thrilled to introduce our guest for today, that is Kamya Aggrawal.
Kamya is a passionate mental health professional with over 4+ years of experience in the field, with an MSW in mental health from TISS Chennai and a PG diploma in counseling psychology. She's worked with the Banyan NGO, completed 100+ hours of supervised sessions, and is certified in suicide prevention and open dialogue. So, hi Kamya, we're excited to have you on the podcast. Would you like to say anything to our audience?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this episode. I'm really excited to connect to the youth out there. And yeah, I think like our lineup today is really exciting, the kind of conversation we're going to have. And it could help a lot of people out there just understand some things which no one really chooses to talk about. So I'm happy to be here.
All right, great. So, I would like to start with telling us about your journey as to how did you decide to become a therapist?
Hmm. Okay, so Vanshika, like you also like introduced me. So I was in my undergraduation, like you, I was actually a commerce student at Delhi University. And over there in my third year, I think I almost had an existential crisis that what am I doing? Why am I here? Sort of thing. And yeah, I had that, insight that, yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. I am meant to be in some other field. And I almost 99% knew it was social sciences. So then it was a year of hard work for me. I cracked testnet. That time it was called a separate thing called testnet. So I gave testnet and I didn't get in counseling psychology, which had been one of the options I'd applied for. But I got into this program I knew nothing about called MSW in mental health, like specialization. So back then I knew almost nothing about social work. And so I come in this program in Chennai and it changed my whole identity as a person. It like the kind of training that a commerce program will give you if you have been doing it for 5 years. I had to do a lot of unlearning over there and I became in that 2 year journey with so many interesting internships that we would not have time to like go into detail. But I learned to unlearn all of those things that I had learned as a commerce student. And I just started seeing everything from a justice lens, from a social political lens. I became very open minded as well. So that transition happened for me. And then I worked in an NGO, the Banyan NGO, as a psychiatric social worker, as a program manager. It was a very intense program. It was crisis intervention oriented. We also worked during COVID, and I lost a few clients to COVID as well, for which I was physically present over there to do all the things for them. So like my role there was also so intensive, but in those 2 years I learned so much about what is ground reality out there about mental health. Because if I could mention that one snippet, like even when I was working there, so I was working in Ratnagiri and it was a very small town. So, like in a positive way, the impact you can also have on people out there is larger because the like audience is also like really near to you that you want to impact. But I would also end up having impromptu conversations with auto walas, and they would tell me that yeah, my daughter is doing this course from here, she is also very smart like you. Like they were also very open about mental health, and that is something I only learned because I was on the field. So I think that my journey is a little bit zigzag, because from there we jumped to coming to Ferguson College, doing this diploma course. And that was when I came to the standstill and realized that all the skills that I've been gathering in different of these like educational courses, it has got me to this point that now as a counselor, I don't come from the same lens that maybe someone else would have if they're done their master's and undergraduation in counseling psychology, maybe. I am also multidiscipline oriented. Like I see things from various lenses.
Yeah, it is definitely full of ups and downs, but a journey worth experiencing for sure. Also, the
Yeah.
next question I have for you is if you'll have to explain what therapy looks like to in a one sentence to a person, then how would you explain it?
Hmm. Yeah, so that is a really good question, Shruti, and I have thought about it for I've been thinking about it for a long time since I started also. Like I came to the other side of therapy, that is being a counselor. But when I try to think of essence of therapy, I could think of like two, three sentences first. So I will like just start with that. That first, I felt that first of all, we all have some patterns, we all have some hurts in our life which like for a long time they can stay silent in but they keep hampering some part of our life, and we can reach a point where they they become the only thing that maybe stops us from succeeding, from making friends, from being open in our relationships. So these hurts and these patterns, when they become that big, it really becomes so important to start working on them. So I would call therapy that unlearning process where you come in a super safe space, and we don't just say it for namesake that it's a safe space. Like it is actually has to be facilitated by me as a counselor, as the therapist in the room. And with that, what happens is that that person is working on their like their unhealed patterns, unsaid words, and that is with the essence of being understood and heard. So there's a lot of judgment about things that we have been through, or we feel, or we think in our everyday life. But when you're in a therapy session, I think that is one of the essence of therapy for me, that you just feel understood, that okay, you know that whatever you say or do, this person who knows me so well, she knows me inside and out, she is not going to judge me for it. So the no judgment part, the active listening part, the like we don't just listen to what is being said, we also listen to what is not being said in a sentence. So I think these are really important aspects of therapy for me, and I've also found that being equally important to my clients. So this is how I would describe therapy.
All right, Kamya, great way of explaining what therapy is. Now we are moving on to a fun section. So it's a myth versus fact section. I'll be stating down a few statements and then you'll have to tell whether it's a myth or it's a fact. Right. So the
But
first one is that therapy is expensive.
I would say it's somewhere between a myth and a fact, because it's not completely like therapy is expensive once, like it totally depends on the therapist. So it's sort of dependent on a few factors. But yeah, at starting level, I would say that therapy is not expensive when you're starting off as a student. There are resources out there to just start understanding yourself better. So myth. For let's say for beginner level, let's say myth, because that would sort of make it inaccessible then, that why, obviously not everyone can access therapy. Yeah, myth. Next.
Okay, it's a myth. The next one is that therapy is only for weak people.
Oh, definitely a myth.
Right. The next one is therapy is endless. Like it just continues forever. If you start once, then the sessions won't end.
Hmm, that is also a myth, definitely.
All right. The next one is that therapy requires medication.
That is not always true, and it's very, very client dependent. So I would say myth.
All right. So there are a lot of myths. I thought a few of them would be facts, but okay, it's a myth. Right, Shruti. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, majority of the people have this one question, that how can they know if they need therapy or not, and how can they find the right therapist? So, please explain this to us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is a question that begins a lot of conversations, Because unless we start, like we started with what is therapy, what does it look like? So now we're getting to the what does it look like part. And yeah, I think if I had to tell it to you guys and also the audience in general, how do you know if you need therapy? So I will also take some snippets from my sessions as well, sometimes just to blend things in and kind of explain what I want to really say. But I think that we for this point we have to really first introspect as a person, like if you're trying to think about if you need therapy or not. And there are some things like if you have been feeling spiritless lately, you feel tired, you feel restless. So and there can be a sense of that you feel like you have everything yet something is missing, like that joy that you feel you are supposed to feel in your life, it is missing in your life. So that is, I would say, the first sign that you kind of need to start talking about things, because what is actually happening within you right now is that things are piling up, experiences are piling up, and we don't talk about them because first of all we say कौन सुनेगा मेरी, किसी के पास इतना टाइम नहीं है, everyone will be like कि यार please रोना बंद कर, stop, it happened years ago, please just get over it. So these are experiences which no one is even listening to, they're not validating them. That's when you know that these experiences are still in your way, in you doing new things, you becoming a new identity even. So that is one definite sign that you need to start off talking about things. And then on the second part of your question as to how to approach therapy once you sort of learn this about yourself, that oh okay, I actually have some things to talk about and I need to approach someone, right? So I've actually also written a LinkedIn post about this, but I have shorten some of those points for our conversation today. So the first thing that I definitely think helps is that we all at this point have someone who's either in therapy or they started therapy and they told us about it. So we would know at least one person like that. If we don't know such a person, we might have a professor, we might have some mentor in our life who is actively promoting mental health in our circle. So the first step that we can actually do is reach out to this person and have a conversation with them. And if we feel that they are, safe enough for us, that if I just tell them, listen, I want to kind of talk to someone, I need a counselor, I need to find someone, can you help me? It's just as simple as that. And just know that while asking for that help, you're not becoming a smaller person. Even if worst case scenario they choose to not be very non-judgmental about it, you'll get that first snippet of that access part, right? That you can't directly access a counselor. There are also many people out there who would automatically know uh, like resources which help you find counselors, so that can also happen. So whatever way works for you, the first thing is reaching out and getting that help, like getting that first number of someone, a name of someone, that this is the person I can talk to. Now, before you approach this person that you got maybe referred to, the second thing you need to do is take a lot of internal decisions for yourself. So before you go to a therapist, there are some things you need to figure out for yourself. Like, first of all, what is it that you exactly want to work on in therapy? Because it also helps when you start a therapy process with someone that you know your goals. That, okay, I have work related stress, so I just want to vent it out. I think I have some unexpressed trauma from my childhood, so I need to talk about that. I need to heal from that. When you have definite goals like this, it also helps the therapist to understand how to work with you better, what approach to use, or how well paced should our sessions be like. So the second thing that comes from this is, first of all, what do you want to work on? Second of all, the frequency of sessions. So some people come when they start therapy, they will take a session a week. Some people who are really in need of desperate help, they will take 2 sessions a week. But some people will start therapy and they will be like, okay, I am doing sort of okay, but this space is helping me, so I'll take 1 session in 2 weeks. So that frequency totally depends on you as a client. It is one of your rights that you decide when you want to take a session and not the therapist. So that is second thing you decide, the frequency. The third thing we think about is fees. Like, how much would you be willing to pay a therapist? How much can you afford right now? I think that would be a better way to say it. How much can you afford to pay right now? Because as we are also targeting a youth audience, some of us cannot even pay, or we may be able to pay like a nominal amount, right? Which is so that would also be super important because that would also help filter who would be a right fit for you, because there are some therapists who have gained a lot of experience, like maybe 5+ years experience. So they actually charge a little bit higher. So, and you might not be able to access them from the very beginning. Like therapy is also like a staircase. It goes up like this. So it's not like a direct, to zigzag to the top in a way. And your understanding of your own mental health and therapy will also evolve over time. So believing in that, you start somewhere off, right? It's very rare that your first counselor will stay with you throughout your life. You will probably change a few counselors in your life. So that is also okay. That is one thing. The fourth thing is preferences. So depending on what I want to work on and who I feel comfortable with, I might just feel like, okay, I want to talk to a female therapist, I want to talk to a male person, or I want to talk to someone between this age range because I feel like this person would get my issues better. So that is also another thing you can do, that have that sort of preference in your mind. And at any point when you feel like this is not what I had in mind, you can be honest about it and let the other person know. And I know that at least every therapist I know has been super open to this. That our only goal is to help you get the help you need. So we would, I don't think that we would take offense to the fact that, oh, you don't want to take therapy with me. It's kind of like, okay, let me help you reach that person now who will help you with this. So that is another one. And then, yeah, I think these are some filters you need to have in mind. Internally, you would decide. The next step is that you have the number, you have whatever the reference, and you reach out to that person and just start a conversation. Like, hi, I am, can I talk to you? Like, I'm looking, actually, the sentences that I get these days now is, hi, I'm looking to start therapy. Can we have a conversation about this? And that totally works because it also helps me understand that person is coming from an open space now, open-minded space. So this, what I said, like in points, it's actually a journey you go through. So this journey is as important for you to go through on your own before you come to that point, because it will also help you stay determined throughout your therapy journey. It will make sure that you don't leave midway during therapy, because you have decided on your own that these are points I need to work on. It's important for my life goals. It's important for my overall happiness with life. So these are things that I think person should consider before they start therapy.
Right. That was quite comprehensive. I feel anyone who wants, they could just easily follow the steps and move up the ladder. All right, good
Yeah.
approach. The next question is, which age group of people come to you the most?
So Vanshika, right now I have clients between 20 to 38. That is the age group that I'm catering to right now.
Right. And how are the issues of the different age groups different? Like from someone who is from 20 to 30, how is their issues different from someone who is from 30 to 38? How is it different?
Hmm. Okay, so I actually sort of made like two categories. One is that something, these issues that you can separate by age groups, and then there are some comprehensive, all pervasive issues that almost every one of us faces. So I think I divided it between 18 to 22 age group. You have more education related issues. Like, for example, you've just moved to a new city for education. You might be having social identity issues. You might be having issues with your body. with you discovering that you're on maybe the spectrum, or you having some sort of um you are just starting to discover that, okay, I've had issues in my teenage and now I need to start working on them. So it could be more like less severe maybe, and I'm not trying to typecast, but yeah, like overall all the issues that come up. Then between 24 to 28, a lot of new issues things crop up, like job related issues. You could have relationships, you could have patterns in relationships, you could have your colleagues with which you need to like maintain that rapport, but maybe internally you don't like them, right? And this is also a point where a lot of like clients start discovering that a lot of us are getting now like we get that referrals that I need to get tested for ADHD maybe. So maybe you had ADD your whole life, but you never knew it. And now you get to that point of awareness where you discover that, okay, maybe I have more additional issues that I knew about myself. So that is something you start approaching with your counselor again, right? And between 28 plus, they are also like, so I call them like multi layers of issues that's piling up with each other. But plus 28, you also get things like financial strains. You might be the sole earning member of your family. So that is again a thing that you might be at that point where you're pressured to marry, or you are about to get in an arranged marriage setup. You are engaged to someone, you have a long-term relationship going. The stress of that can be also very different.
Also, this particular question I'm most excited about. What does a normal session look like? And just give us a little sneak peek about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I also understood your curiosity, like coming in from an outsider perspective with this question. But yeah, so even for this question, guys, I sort of like, because how a session looks like kind of depends on where you are in at which stage of therapy. So if I'm starting with, I think the curiosity is coming in from starting sessions. So in starting session, when you have just started seeing a counselor, they add a little bit moments of awkwardness in between, because you will be sitting next to a stranger for the first time in your life, and you're both looking at each other exactly as we're looking at each other right now, and both of us are wondering who will speak first. So this happens, and that little awkwardness is there, but we are also sort of trained in how to break that awkwardness. Like, it just comes from when I am being myself as a counselor and as a human being, that crispiness breaks a little bit and we start having conversation. So in the beginning, you can also almost say that some of the conversations are very superficial. Like, you as a client will be trying to acquaint me about your life. So some clients actually come in with this sort of like approach, like, okay, Kamya, so here's the deal. I'll tell you everything that happened. And they actually give me like a whole flow chart about what their life looks like. And this happens a lot. And so for us, those initial sessions are literally just like, oh, okay, okay, okay. And we're constantly writing as well. We're making notes because we know these are really important things. So first few sessions can just be either very fast because they are all about information, and but they can also be really slow where the client is just going like और क्या बताऊं आपको, okay, और क्या बता सकता हूँ आपको, something like this. So it's not really like a standard thing, but starting sessions look like this. In the middle sessions, we start having that therapeutic connect with each other. So at that point, it's like, hi, Khanda. So this all happened during my week, and I want to tell you all about it. And then we both equally, like we just start the session at any point and it will still be comfortable. We could be having technological issues at some point, we'd still be comfortable with that, and it would not be an awkward phase like the starting phase of therapy for us, right? So these are two phases, because I think the end part we'll also get to cover in our later sessions. But yeah, It totally depends on where you're coming from. If it's your first session or if it's your fifth session, it totally depends on that, how your session would look like.
All right. That was an interesting one, like the initial few days where they just go on sharing so much about their life. So, how do you deal with people who share too much about their lives, like who have extreme emotions, like they have suicidal thoughts? How do you deal with them?
Okay. And I think, like what you said, overshare. I think that is the purpose of therapy. Like, see, this is your conditioning, right? Ki, if I talk a lot about myself, it is oversharing. But that exact oversharing is what leads to insights and you realizing things about yourself. So I think if I start answering your question, then I'll answer it in terms of extreme emotions. And I think this is the purpose of therapy, that it will bring out emotions for you, it will bring out that discomfort for you, which you have been avoiding for a really long time by not just maybe because we all have unhealthy coping mechanisms. So we will sometimes just not think about it. We'll be around people, maybe we overindulge in our hobbies just to not have to, go through a particular thing. But therapy forces you to do exactly that. And it is not comfortable, but it is not that uncomfortable that I'm doing this alone, because you always know that there is a person besides you, whether online or offline, who's literally holding your hand and guiding you through the process. So there's a sense of maybe solidarity.
Kamya, how do you deal with patients who have extreme suicidal emotions?
Hmm. First of all, I really like, Shruti, how you term being suicidal as an emotion. I would go one step further and call it a feeling. Like you have anger, you have sadness or something. So suicide is also a spectrum of emotion, and it's not just one final act, right? So if I have a client who's suicidal, there are a lot of things to think about. But the first thing that I think about as a counselor is whether it's latent suicidal tendencies or thoughts, or it's someone who's actively suicidal. Because if it's someone who's actively suicidal and just one step away from taking their life, then we are actually talking about crisis intervention, and that is a separate, like, you need to be way more trained for that. And maybe yeah, like I would also have to go to way more trainings, or like, you, like, I'm a like a gatekeeper for suicide prevention, so there are programs like this in India as well. So that's a separate topic of what happens when a client is extremely suicidal, like actively suicidal. But some of us could have like latent suicidal tendencies, or maybe at some point we try to self harm. We used to have latent thoughts about suicide, or just, okay, what if I was not alive anymore? Then maybe this pain would go away. So there is a very different way in which we deal with that, because I've also taken supervision for such sessions when I first encountered my first suicidal client. Like, she just started talking in a particular way, and I picked up on those cues, and then I took supervision for it. That, okay, how do I deal with this? So the first thing I would do is, first I would address my own feelings about it. Because if I go into that distress mode, maybe that, oh my God, this client is being not very happy right now. She's not like overjoyed about life right now. Then I also take her in the same cycle of her being a helpless victim in her situation. So what I need to do in that situation is I need to be calm as a counselor. I need to actually see my client in front of me as being a person with agency who can equally get out of this while she's in this feeling. If it's a feeling, and if I let her feel it full through, if I let her say, like Vanshika said, extreme emotion, oversharing, ki, okay, this is the first time I had this thought, then she has the capacity equally to come out of this feeling. So this is one thing I definitely take up. And yeah, and the second thing I can do as a counselor in those sessions is I can integrate some meaning for her in those sessions. So if whenever she's feeling this way, I, as a counselor, can be the image of hope that she carries. That, okay, this is one person who believes in me.
All right, so doesn't taking all these sessions, the therapist sessions, take a toll on your mental health sometimes? Like you're dealing with these patients who have a depressed journey, who have a depressed life, and they share it with you. So doesn't all their thoughts have a negative impact upon your life as well?
I think that this happens more in the beginning when you start your journey as a counselor. Then, even if you have one particularly heavy session, it can really drain you off. So, in the beginning, we do practice, I did practice a lot more self care. And now I am more in the rhythm in the sense that if I'm well prepared for my therapy sessions in advance, I have also taken a moment to myself, sort of calm myself down, I have to bring myself in a particular zone to make sure that my own material does not come up in the session, and just I can be there for whatever the client has to say, right, or do or be. So once I do that, now if I take even like two sessions with maybe like some spacing in between, like 1 hour or 45 minutes or something, then I am good to go. But in the beginning, it was way more difficult. Like we would get heavier. Sometimes our body show it, sometimes our mood shows it. So that point, even now, my natural coping mechanism is right after sessions, I will do some physical activity. I will either go for a run, or I will just like do some yoga, workout, or start doing some cooking, because it's like being in touch with your senses. So that helps me like slowly exit the client's life and enter my own life again. So that kind of transition.
So, how has the perception of people changed for therapy over the years?
Yeah, so I can only start talking about my journey and the general trends I've noticed as a mental health professional, even as I entered in this space of taking therapy. But I think that slowly people have been in at least tier one and tier two cities. Like it is also an urban trend right now. Like rurally, the scenario looks quite differently right now, but people have been becoming more aware. And I think this is one thing that I really appreciate is that people are starting to stop belittling and trivializing their own issues. Like if something is bothering them, instead of like having that mainstream narrative in your mind that, oh, like, why am I being a crybaby right now, and just like whining about things all the time. Instead, they come to the other side of it and they say that, okay, this has been bothering me for a really long time. I really need to start talking about this now. So that change of thought that is happening almost as in generation, like if you look at the generations coming up now, they are almost super aware about mental health and therapy, and even like new lingo coming up, right? So it does show a generational shift that has happened, and I think internet has a huge part to play for it. Like because that awareness, that psychoeducation, it also comes from the kind of content you're consuming online now, and a lot of mental health therapy pages have also cropped up, and so whether you have access to one therapist or the other, but somewhere you're reading uh, this idea online that it's okay to not be okay, maybe, and it's okay to just start talking about things, no matter how big or small you think they are. So that judgment is going away very much so, and I really appreciate that fact actually, because it helps you start feeling better sooner. If you have a lot of walls around it, then it's way more difficult to first convince you that no, your issues matter. Yeah.
Alright. That's just a sweet line. It's okay to not be okay. Like you are allowed to feel the emotions that you
Yeah.
have. I mean, I just love that line. All right, moving on to the next question. Nowadays, we are seeing that the online mode of therapy is also taking place. So, how effective is this online sessions if we compare it to the offline ones, and what are the differences?
I think the advent of that we're seeing of more online sessions than offline right now, it's also more access based. So this is the therapist side, this is a counselor side. That as we're starting off, we also have less access to resources. Not all of us have apartments ready where we can just have one room for taking therapy. So it mostly starts from a sense of necessity. That is why we start taking maybe off online sessions. And as someone who's taking most of our sessions online right now, I can say this with like full clarity and surety that yeah, like therapeutic connect is as much as an online session than an offline sessions. And in offline sessions, we are also now seeing like it's obviously client dependent and therapist dependent. Each one can have their preferences, and that's totally okay to have our own preferences. But this is what I feel about offline sessions right now, that also like the cost of going somewhere and coming back and coordinating with the client. I think that is something like when once you start taking online sessions, it just becomes very easier because now the client can take that call to be in their safe space from anywhere. And mostly, they'll I've seen that they'll take such call when like their family members are not present around them. And it's like a particular off day when like you really just have that space to yourself. So for on that space like that day, if you also had to travel somewhere for that session, that is something I feel like for some people it's obstruction now. So online therapy has been gaining ground and for valid reasons. It does work. It is equally powerful as offline sessions.
Okay. And Kamya, what can someone do if they are not able to afford therapy, but they are in really need of the therapy? So, are there anything like you already told us about the pro bono cost effective therapy sessions? So, please explain it to our viewers as well.
Shruti and Vanshika, in this particular like regard, first of all, like as I also talked in clients being actively suicidal, there are some crisis intervention based. Like you could at one point be going through maybe a panic attack. You could be having actively suicidal thoughts. At that point, you also have access to a lot of mental health lines. Now you have a lot of suicide prevention helplines. So you can have access to those numbers, and if you're particularly feeling that way within the hours that they operate, you can reach out also and just also talk to someone who's a trained listener and maybe not a counselor. But we have a lot of mindfulness based listening courses now as well. So that is one access for crisis intervention settings. And then when we come to the counseling part of it for our youth who don't have like mental health illnesses per se, but they have a lot of small issues that they need to work on. There, almost every therapist that I know, they also keep student slots and they keep a few pro bono slots. So one thing I would definitely say is always be curious and inquire about things. Like when we sort of already feel so bad about something, we'll be like, no, 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 she wouldn't have, she won't take my case. I just know that. But ask, let the counselor decide what they want to do in that case. So first of all, it's always like ask and then assume that whether they'll take your case or not. And secondly, I think a lot of resources have now also been cropping up on LinkedIn, where we have actually made a list of therapists who take therapy at low cost or at pro bono cost as well. So maybe if me as a counselor, I have two slots open for students or pro bono therapy right now. So I will also register on that platform. So if youth had access to such platforms, then very easily there could be like a connect between client and a counselor who will give pro bono therapy. So no matter what your needs are like, whether you can pay or not, you will be able to find someone for your needs. But you have to keep searching. You have to explore that. So yeah, I think this is my help will. Oh my God, I'm going to quote Dumbledore right now. But help will always be given to those who ask for it.
Right.
That was
Also,
a great way of summing it up.
yeah. Also, Kamya, if you have any resources related to pro bono or student discount, then please send it to us and we'll put that in the
Yeah.
description below.
Kamya, it was great having you on the podcast. We learned so much. Like mental health is actually a topic that most of us are not aware of. And
Yeah.
the way you explained all the topics in such detail and by using such good lines, we just loved it. And I hope our viewers found that insightful too. So if you liked the episode, please hit the like button. You can also comment something. And yeah, do check out the description section. We'll be mentioning all the helpline numbers and all the other resources that Kamya provides in the description section. All right, everyone. If you like the section, then please like, subscribe, and comment. Bye bye.
We'll also give the link of Kamya's LinkedIn profile in the session. If someone wants to contact her, then they can definitely. And bye bye.
Bye bye.